Good evening. My name is Tracy Edwards, and I'm the co-president of the League of Women Voters of Cupertino-Sunnyvale. Today's candidate forum for Assembly District 26 will run about 75 minutes. Only the moderator and the candidates will be on the screen. All other attendees will be muted, and this session is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be available on lwvcs.org in the next few days. Thank you. So before we get to the purpose of this forum, just some background information on the League and about voting in the November election. The League has been empowering voters and defending democracy for over 100 years. We were founded in February of 1920, just 6 months before women won the right to vote. We do have two distinct functions done separately through two different corporations. One that does voter education, of which today's event is an example, and the other, which after extensive study takes positions and then as appropriate advocates for the passage of laws. Now, to say that the California ballot can be challenging is an understatement. And we have some good news, and that's Vote 411, formerly known as Voter's Edge. Vote 411 is a comprehensive, nonpartisan online guide to elections covering federal, state, and local races and state and local ballot measures. Vote 411 also includes some campaign finance information. Simply type vote411.org into your browser, click on vote411.org, and when the screen comes up, scroll slightly down, enter your address, and your ballot and related information will be available. Now, regarding the November election, when you get your ballot, please pay close attention to how they list your name. Is it first and last, or first, middle, and last? And sign your ballot in the same way it's shown on the envelope. And because California passed the Voters' Choice Act, you have several options about how to deliver your ballot. You may deliver your ballot by mail, but if you do so, please mail early. You may place your ballot in a drop box, or you may deliver your ballot to a vote center. These centers replace the old community polling stations. And if you need to check your voter registration, find a drop box or a vote center or anything related to voting, just go to rovservices.scc.gov.org. And if you'd like additional sources of nonpartisan information, please visit the sites on this slide. We have a few more forums that are coming up, which we're going to show you here. The remaining forums are only 3, tonight's and 2 others, but just go to our website, lwvcs.org, and you can find our calendar of events, register, attend, and all our events are recorded and posted to our website within a few days. So we're going to get started. There are 2 candidates for the Assembly District 26, which has a 2-year term. The candidates have agreed to the format and the ground rules for this forum. I will pose questions, which were gathered in advance. Each question has a designated response time of 90 seconds or 60 seconds, and a timer will give the candidates visual signals to help them pace the responses and stop on time. Each candidate has agreed to be responsive to the questions they're asked, civil in their responses, not interrupt the other candidate or the moderator, and not make any remarks that are personal in nature or directed at any individual. And if the candidate violates the ground rules more than twice, the candidate may be removed from the forum. We also ask the candidates and the public, if you choose to reference the recording of this forum, or frankly, any of our forums, to please do so in its entirety. You may not reference or take a clip of only a portion of the forum. Each candidate also has 3 30-second rebuttal opportunities they may use to rebut the remarks of the other candidate. They may not use the rebuttal time to just add to their own comments or to go off topic. If a candidate would like to use the rebuttal, they'll simply raise their hand. Now, in advance, the candidates were provided the first and the last question. And so now I want to extend a very warm welcome to Patrick Ahrens and to Tara Sreekrishnan. So we're going to get started, and the speaking order was randomly drawn, and the speaking order will alternate with each question. The speaking order for the first question will be Patrick and then Tara. So Patrick, you have 90 seconds. Why are you qualified to be our assembly person?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Tracy, to you for always moderating these important discussions, and to the League of Women Voters. My name is Patrick Ahrens. It's an honor to be running to represent Silicon Valley to the California State Assembly. I have been working in this district for over 10 years. I'm the district director for the incumbent. I serve on the Foothill De Anza Community College Board of Trustees, where we've led on efforts to fully partner with every level of government to try and tackle the most pressing issues that are facing the state of California. We've enacted over $200 million to build affordable housing for students, faculty, and staff. We, in my role as the district director for the California State Assembly, have brought millions of dollars of our taxpayer dollars back into the district to reinvest them back in affordable housing, public safety, and transportation issues. We've led on the first ever community health clinic on a community college property. I'm uniquely qualified for this role because I also have lived experience. I'm the first in my family to go to college. My twin brother passed away from cancer 2 years ago, struggled with health insurance. I grew up on Section 8 housing and welfare benefits. I used to be homeless. I know the issues that are facing our Silicon Valley families. I'm going to use that lived experience and have a sense of urgency in Sacramento. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tara.
Well, thank you to the League, and I'm proud to be a League member. My name's Tara Sreekrishnan. I serve on the Santa Clara County Board of Education. I'm a nonprofit founder, and I'm a cancer survivor. So I have worked professionally at every level of local government, school district, city, county, and state, now serving as a legislative director in the state Senate. Last year alone, managed a package of 15 bills we sent to the governor's desk for his signature. I've worked with many of the policy and budget committees in our state capital, secured critical budget allocations for this district with a focus on students and families. And I'm running for the state assembly because I've seen firsthand the challenges our communities face. And I know we need leaders ready to stand up for everyday people, not special interests. My parents came to this country and this district, stepped off the plane with 3,000 rupees, which was $50 US at the time. So most of my childhood, I saw them work very hard, go into debt just to cover our basic needs, stretch resources thin to bring a roof over our head. And so I'm running to bring those opportunities to other families. And we know those opportunities are slipping away. I want to do more to protect the middle class and support working families. And I'm ready to take on special interests like billionaire real estate interests, profiting off our housing crisis, corporate lobbyists, big oil, big pharma, utilities like PG&E that are spending millions of dollars against me. And I'm proud that they know I'll fight hard for this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Tara, we're going to go to you with the next question. It's 60 seconds. The question is, the cost per unit to build new affordable housing now approaches $1 million a unit. What 3 things would you do to lower the cost of developing affordable housing?
Well, thank you so much. You know, we need to build 600,000 more homes to keep up with job growth in the Bay Area. We created 6 jobs for every 1 unit of housing over the past decade in Silicon Valley. So we see the root of our housing crisis here in this district. 1, I would want to increase state tax credits for affordable housing. There are hundreds of thousands of units stuck in the pipeline. Developers are trying to access this state housing credit. 2, I'd want to look at policies to streamline affordable housing, like policies I've worked on, like ADUs, supporting mixed-use zoning as well. And 3, looking at underutilized sites. I was really proud in our office to help support an office of underutilized sites, which saw 44,000 parcels of underutilized sites. And so we need to prioritize those sites to build neighborhoods where families can have access to jobs, schools, transit. So there's certainly a lot more I want to do. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Patrick.
Thank you so much, Tracy. To answer your question, it all depends on the unique partnerships in this district. I'm not waiting to get elected to the assembly to work on these issues. I'm already working on them. We passed the largest school bond in the history of the county, measured G, for Foothill De Anza. We've invested $200 million of affordable housing. We're going to be building that on school district property and adjacent. Mountain View Wisman is a great example of doing this. They're partnering with a developer, and they are getting their doors to close to $650,000 a door. And which is unheard of. Usually we're looking at, as you said, close to $1 million a door. They did a unique partnership. They're using a school bond. They're using alternative sites, and it's going to be state of the art. These are the partnerships that I'm working on at Foothill De Anza. This is what we need to be scaling. There's 116 community colleges. There's all different other types of public private partnerships that we could be working on. That's what we need to be scaling.
Thank you. So Patrick, next one to you. I'm going to stick with housing. This one is for 60 seconds. To accelerate the development of affordable housing, the state has passed legislation that reduced local control on approval of housing projects. That legislation has yet to really produce significant results. What would you do to accelerate the development of affordable housing?
Well, we need to be reinvesting taxpayer dollars into building affordable housing. We used to do that with redevelopment funds. And, you know, that's why every mayor in this district has endorsed my campaign, because we have to end the blame game. Housing is not a county problem or a city problem. It's all of our problems. And so as an assembly member, I'm going to, within my first 30 days, going to be convening every mayor to be addressing this issue. We're going to be crafting legislation that brings these not only tax credits, but further incentives. We need to be working with developers in this district, nonprofit, community leaders. We need to make sure that we have a community voice and process in this, but we need to be ambitious about these housing goals, because it's only going to get worse if we don't finally start trying alternative methods and trying something new. An assembly member in Silicon Valley needs to be a fighter in this regard. We need to be convening these conversations, full stop.
Thank you. Tara.
Well, thank you so much. As someone who's worked at the city, county, and now state, you know, I've seen not only how collaboration is important across these tiers, but you brought it up yourself in your question. You know, the state's coming out with ambitious goals for local governments, but not often giving the resources to us at the local level. So I think at the state level, we should be linking housing goals with jobs goals and transportation funding to incentivize cities to create all of this at the same time and to build in a smart way, in a way that's more walkable, more transit oriented, and with goals that support our climate as well. I also think with housing, our funding models are outdated. You know, we continue to go to the taxpayers for long-term transportation projects. I'd want to look at development impact fees, and for housing as well, looking at our development impact fees to build affordable housing on site. And so I think that with these ambitious goals, the state should be giving support at the local level.
Thank you. And Tara, the next one goes to you. It's for 60 seconds. In 2023, 1 in 16 Californians experienced emotional, physical, or sexual violence from a current or former partner. It's estimated that half the women in California will experience this violence over the course of their lives, and it is the leading reason that women and children become unhoused. If elected, how would you prevent this violence from occurring, and what responses would you prioritize for when it does happen?
Well, thank you so much. I mean, this is a really serious issue. And to just get personal, if that's okay, you know, this is violence I've experienced myself, so it's very close to heart. I think first and foremost, we need to make sure we have adequate representation for these voices in our state legislature. And public safety, we have to look at the root cause. You know, we have to look at making sure we're funding early learning, childcare, making sure we're giving families access to the middle class. But I think for partner-based violence itself, we need to make sure we're having resources, especially for women, you know, and supporting nonprofits like Next Door Solutions, supporting wraparound support for these women, supporting mental health as well. And so there's more we can do to support those folks on the ground that are that they when these women need help. But we also need to look at some of the root causes of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick.
Thank you, Tracy. I've experienced this issue firsthand. I was raised by a single mother who's unfortunately we all had to stay in a women's battered shelter with me and my twin brother, where I saw firsthand how much abuse that she had to go through with her boyfriend early on. We need to be the state needs to be playing a larger role in helping in this effort. There's some amazing organizations out there that are doing great work. The YWCA, the Bill Wilson Center, Sunnyvale Community Services, West Valley Community Services, but they need funding, they need help. And we need to be looking at programs that are actually proven and shown that these issues can be addressed. And it's about getting information into the hands of especially women who need these issues. If they don't know that they exist, or if they're not accessible in these areas, then what good is the program?
Thank you. Patrick, the next one goes to you. It's for 60 seconds. This deals with transit. The Bay Area has 34 different transit agencies. This has created many transit silos. What will you do to increase ridership, reduce the cost of the taxpayers, and generally create a more efficient transit system?
Well, I don't know what the right answer of how many transit agencies we need, but it's not 34. We don't need that many. There needs to be, we need to be having a regional and comprehensive look at consolidation. I don't think it's one, but I certainly don't think it's 34. I know that this issue has been studied, and the Assembly and the Senate have looked at these issues, as well as grand jury reports. We need governance reform. We need a single fare. We need a use policy where you have one ticket for multiple fares. We need a regional approach to these issues, so they're not fighting over dwindling taxpayer issues. We need to use this from a user standpoint. I have taken public transportation from one part of this district to the other, and it's taken 2 hours just to get to De Anza College. There needs to be an integrated system, and that's going to have to look at governance reform. It's going to have to look at consolidation, and it's going to have community input.
Thank you very much. Tara.
Well, California's transit system's at a critical juncture. I was proud to be a part of the effort to help secure $11 billion for our Silicon Valley transit agencies. But we need to make sure we're stronger when it comes to accountability, because for a lot of these projects, we're seeing dramatic, cost overruns, funding gaps, delays. And so I support not only a local oversight committee, but working in conjunction with the state legislative audit committee to really monitor these major projects and ensure they're staying on budget and on schedule. We need to make sure we're using taxpayer dollars more responsibly. And so, as I mentioned before, I'd want to tap into development fees along, high-speed rail corridors, look at transit-oriented development, and often what gets left behind are these last-mile solutions, whether it be zero-emission buses, on-demand shuttles, protected Class 4 bikeways. And so I'd want to prioritize that as well as looking at the Seamless Bay Area initiative to better unify our fragmented transit system.
Thank you. We're going to stick with transit here, and it goes to you next, Tara. It's for 60 seconds. The VTA continues to be in the news for significant budget overruns and bad governance. As our assembly person, what can you do and what will you do to improve the operations of the VTA?
Thank you. So I really hit on this in my previous answer. As you can see, I'm very passionate about this. The VTA is continuing to go to the state for short-term funding gaps, but we need to look at more comprehensive forward-looking approaches. We need better oversight, and specifically, I would want to look at an audit. I was really proud to help support the state audit on homelessness funding that looked specifically at the city of San Jose and found there were not even the most basic plans in place to use the state funding we were giving the city. There were a lot of gaps that were found in the audit. but I'm hopeful this is going to be a positive shift in the right direction. And so I'd want to do the same for VTA specifically and have a lot of experience in that regard.
Thank you. Patrick.
You know, our budget is our statement of our values, right? And the state legislature is not focusing enough on making sure that we have adequate funding for our regional transportation measures, specifically VTA. We every few years also try and go to the local taxpayer dollars on this issue. Then we also try and lobby the state. We need a select committee on working on these issues. You know, we've had so many audits. We've had so many grand jury investigations. We have so many people scratching at the edges on these issues. We need action. We know what recommendations that have come forward under all of these studies. And the reality is that we're not meeting or convening any of these groups to talk about what is working and what isn't, and what's consolidation, what things can we save on, and what can we generally work together on. There is no regional body doing these things. There's no regional, you know, it's always done in a sort of reactive way. We need to be proactive.
Thank you very much. Patrick, it's to you again. This is related to PG&E. It's for 60 seconds. How would you strengthen the California Public Utility Commission oversight of PG&E to ensure better safety practices and financial accountability?
Well, first and foremost, we need CPUC reform. The utility company has oversight, or the CPUC oversees PG&E, and you know, they're only appointed by the governor. We need the legislature and other entities. We also need real ratepayers to be able to serve on this board as well. We need a PG&E Bill of Rights where there's sets of standards when your electricity gets turned off, or when there's pandemic that is happening, that you can't leave your home because of the air quality, that you are afforded certain rights that you should have. The legislature should also be taking a look at what is the crown jewel in the utility company in our district, which is right here in Santa Clara, where I was born and raised, where there's utility fees are about 45% less than PG&E's. There's bill ideas there that we could be working on. You know, just a few years ago, there was even discussions about, you know, a state takeover. We need to be convening these conversations if we're going to make meaningful reform efforts on them.
Thank you. Tara?
Yeah, well, California's energy rates are soaring. We have some of the highest in the nation, and families are feeling the financial strain, with PG&E consistently hiking up rates with CPUC's support. And Californians are being forced to pay for the company's missteps. So I won't accept a dime from PG&E. I'm very proud of that. You know, they've spent a fortune in this race backing my opponent. And as your assembly member, I'll work to cap PG&E profits. I'll hold them fully accountable for the damage they've caused our communities. The state has to be tougher on PG&E and other utilities, making sure they aren't just passing costs from the negligence onto ratepayers. You know, we don't need any more bailouts, no more giveaways, no more rate hikes to cover their mistakes. And so that's my commitment to you. California deserves an energy system that prioritizes people, not profits, and I'll fight to make that happen.
Thank you. Tara, the next question goes to you. It's for 60 seconds. Residents of California have experienced dramatic increases in the cost of insurance. Insurance Commission in California has approved these increases, fearing insurance companies will leave the state if the rates are not increased. How would you address the issue of insurers leaving the California market due to profitability concerns while keeping insurance affordable for our consumers?
Thank you. Well, as you stated, the home insurance market is in crisis. You know, homeowners are at risk of losing coverage. Rates have skyrocketed, sometimes double, tripled, or it's being lost without warning. And so this is really unacceptable. We need to work towards a healthier insurance market. So in the short term, we need to make sure the FAIR plan is strengthened to handle the spike in homeowners who have no other choice but to rely on it. This means expanding coverage options and ensuring that plan can sustainably meet the demand. while keeping rates reasonable. At the same time, we need to address the root causes of the insurance crisis, which is climate change and wildfire risk, by investing in wildfire prevention, infrastructure hardening, mitigation efforts. And so, looking at next January, what I'd want to do is support calling for an independent body at LAO to evaluate recommendations from the insurance commissioner to make sure they're fair, effective, and look at potential impacts on rates. So first, I'd want to ensure everyone has access to coverage. Two, I'd want to find solutions to bring premiums down in January.
Thank you. Patrick.
Thank you. So if you actually talk to constituents in this district, you'll hear directly from them. In the Cupertino foothills, they've lost their fire insurance coverage. They can't even get insured. They completely dropped. It's one of the highest drop rates in the state of California. If you go to Alviso, North San Jose in this district, you have also mandatory flood insurance. There's personal insurance issues. We have got to be addressing these issues through the lens of climate change, absolutely. But the reality is that there are so many competing interests in the state legislature right now, and there is not enough attention on this primary issue, that we need to have a select committee. The assembly member representing this area is going to have to convene these conversations to come up with solutions. This is not about just about price hikes. This is about the complete elimination or ability to even get insurance. It's affecting people's quality of life. It's affecting, I'll expand more next time.
Thank you. Okay, Patrick, to you. This one's for 60 seconds. What strategies, and you almost started on this, what strategies do you support for improving California's water security in the face of increasing droughts and changing precipitation patterns?
Can you repeat that? You
Sure.
blew it out a little bit.
What strategies do you support for improving California's water security in the face of increasing droughts and changing precipitation patterns?
Well, we need to be working closer with every level of government on this issue. Within my first 30 days, I've outlined a plan of meeting with every government official in this district, meeting with our water companies, meeting with San Jose Water, meeting with county officials and our mayors to go line by line and see what is working, what isn't. We need to also cover a lot of our canals system. There's plenty of fighting going on between Southern California and Northern California about water rights. We need to be also stopping the blame game between our vibrant agriculture community and our urban infills. We need to be, Silicon Valley has so much technology and innovation. The next assembly member needs to be bringing these innovative solutions towards water rights issues, towards these precipitation issues, towards water storage issues. Anderson Dam is a great example of that. I could go on, but we'll get to more later.
Thank you. Thank you. Tara.
Thank you so much. Well, we really need a multifaceted approach when it comes to water conservation. I was really proud to pass a bill last year to increase water conservation requirements in new buildings. And this was great because it was also a job creator. So, the plumbers loved it. And it was a bill where we could bring diverse parties on board. But we really need to look at our investments in water recycling, groundwater recharge, water use efficiency programs. Urban and ag conservation are also essential. And so we have to make sure that we can diversify where our water comes from. And I also support looking at desal, looking at energy efficiency and minimizing ecological impacts to make sure we have sustainable water long term. We have this condition and crisis of overuse and water overuse. And so we have to look at our state water board and make other governance reforms at the state level in terms of water conservation.
Thank you. The next question is to you. It's for 60 seconds. As voters, we are very fortunate that both of you have governance experience with education. Tara, you're on the Santa Clara County Board of Education. Patrick, you're on the Foothill De Anza College Board. What have you learned from those experiences that now shape your policy and priorities for education in California?
Yes, well, I've learned that, which I knew before, but learned even more so that we're chronically underfunding our K through 12 education system, which was once a model for the nation. We're now 44th in per pupil spending. We have some of the most overcrowded classrooms in the country. And so to really change course, I want to focus and continue my focus on early learning and childcare as a foundation for closing our academic achievement gap, closing our opportunity gap, and lifelong success for Californians. We know that 90% of brain growth occurs in these very early years. So we need to look at our workforce, our facilities, our UPK transition, and look at better funding for smaller class sizes, more teachers, expanded after school. Only 42% of our students in K through 12 graduate to meet CSU and UC entrance requirements. So for me, it starts with early learning and sustainable funding for early learning. I'm proud on my board to have helped raise teacher pay and pay for classified employees. I'm a daughter of a school librarian. I'm honored to continue her fight.
Thank you very much. Patrick.
Thank you. This is a very personal issue for me. I'm the only candidate running this cycle that I know of that has actually been through a Head Start program. That's where I learned what the taste of kiwi was and fresh fruit was for the first time. I understand on a very personal level the value of early education and fully funding that. That's why, like I said, within my first 30 days, we're going to be convening every level of government together. We need federal funds. We need state matching funds. If we continue to silo these operations, it's not going to work. That's the experience that I have at Foothill Deans. I'm the only candidate that's been the board president of my education entity. And that's where I've led on building $200 million of affordable housing for students, faculty, and staff, where we're building the first county medical facility at a community college property. Most of the 116 community colleges have early childcare. Mission College has free childcare if you are a student. This is not rocket science. We can implement this statewide.
Thank you, Patrick. The next question goes to you. It's for 90 seconds. Yes.
What a treat.
For each of the 4 cities you'll represent, please identify one significant issue for each city and what you'll do to address that issue.
Sure. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yes. For each of the 4 cities you'll represent, please identify one significant issue for each city and what you'll do to address the issue.
Well, Cupertino, the crown jewel, is Dean's College. I'm going to make sure that we partner with the city on building affordable housing for students, faculty, and staff. I was a homeless college student. I know the value of a Home First initiative. We need to be embarking in these partnerships. Sunnyvale is the largest city in this district. It has a vibrant downtown, something that the rest of our cities can learn from. We need to be looking at places where young people can live and want to go downtown and want to convene. For the city of Santa Clara, my hometown, it has got to be our amazing independent utility company. I mentioned this before. This is where we can learn to hold PG&E accountable and look at bill ideas that we can implement statewide. 48% on average lower utility fees than PG&E. This is something we can implement. We need the political will to do it. And San Jose, of course, we have some of, I've described in this campaign as a tale of two cities. We are home to NVIDIA, Apple, some amazing tech companies, but we also have El Viso. We have unincorporated areas and some of the most needy, portions of Silicon Valley representing this area as well. They cannot be left behind. I was one of those students. I'm going to be fighting for programs to make sure that the state is actually looking at helping them through educational opportunities.
Thank you. Tara.
Thank you so much. Well, starting with the largest city as it relates to just our district, Sunnyvale, has a pressing need for safer and more equitable transportation options for students. And I've been able to work with some students on their ideas. And what I've learned is there's a lack of safe, bike lanes, public transit routes for students, especially those commuting to Fremont High. So I'd want to advocate for better transportation resources for those students and families. In Cupertino, definitely sales tax revenue stability, and looking at the recent ruling from CDTFA. And there was a positive settlement for the past few years, and I'm proud to be a part of that advocacy effort through Senator Cortez's office. But we have to look at sales tax revenues starting in 2025. It's going to be a huge shift for the city, looking at alternative resources. And so I'd want to do everything I can as an assemblywoman to continue to support their fiscal resilience there. For Santa Clara, I would look at the downtown revitalization. Funding for that is also a challenge, but I think it's such a critical focus to look at the redevelopment of Santa Clara's downtown, to restore the heart of that city, looking at housing, businesses, public space. So I'd want to do everything I can in that regard too, to secure funding for downtown. For San Jose, I would say public safety. There's a huge staffing shortage, at least 500 patrol cops vacant. And so I'd want to look at enhancing recruitment and retention for public safety personnel, look at state funded strike teams to support law enforcement.
Thank you very much. We're going to stick with you, Tara. This next one is for 60 seconds. About 8% of Californians still lack comprehensive healthcare coverage. 57% of Californians experience healthcare care affordability burdens in the last year. 81% of Californians report being worried about affording some aspect of healthcare in the future. What specific policies would you support or propose? What steps would you take to remedy these concerns?
Yeah. Well, as a cancer survivor, I've experienced firsthand the gaps in our healthcare system. I was initially misdiagnosed. It wasn't until later that I received the care that I needed, but my doctor is my hero, and I want to give a shout out to my brother who's a doctor too. But this showed me how our healthcare system often fails to support patients, especially women. It also taught me how to fight and stand up for myself as a woman. What I've seen at the state level, insurance companies we're allowing them to deny and limit coverage, especially for mental health addiction. And so there are so many barriers to care. And the truth is, we are the only industrialized nation without universal health care, and we're feeling the consequences. Local taxpayers are paying billions each year to cover health care for uninsured residents, whether it be through county programs like VMC. This is so unsustainable. We need a system that doesn't leave holes, that then forces taxpayers to foot the bill for an industry. So moving to a universal healthcare system could save money. And I
thank you very much. Patrick.
Thank you. I experienced this issue right out of the womb. I grew up not having health insurance. I'm the only candidate running for assembly who grew up not having health insurance. I know the detrimental effects that this has caused, but I'm not waiting to get elected to work on this issue. Thanks to my idea, we worked with County Supervisor Joe Simidian, who I called. I didn't hear back from him right away, so I called his wife. And then I got a call right back. And a year later, we're embarking on the first county medical building. It's about access and affordability. We don't talk about access enough. This supervisorial district is going to have a county medical building. It's going to have free mental health counseling. It's going to be right across the street from the Cupertino Senior Center. It's going to have a free dental clinic. It's going to have a county pharmacy. It's going to have a primary healthcare physician. So many of our students don't have access to healthcare. Or don't have healthcare at all like I did. We're talking to VTA about increasing bus lines in this area. It's about collaboration, not siloing.
Thank you. Thank you. Patrick, next one is to you, also with healthcare. It's for 60 seconds. How would you address the behavioral health crisis in California, particularly for youth? What investments would you prioritize in mental health and substance abuse treatment?
Well, this is a very personal issue to me. As I said, both my parents have struggled with substance abuse issues growing up. And so I learned this firsthand. We need to be fully investing in these efforts. I'm cautiously optimistic that Proposition 1 that was passed in our March primary will lead to these efforts. We need to be getting more money to where it matters, which is our county hospitals and our county providers. Like I mentioned a lot with my medical clinic, we can get early prevention efforts at the community colleges that can also triage into the K through 12 schools. We can do a lot of prevention efforts in this area. There's a mental health crisis in our schools. I also suffer from anxiety and depression growing up with, the struggles that my family has. We need to be not silent about these issues. Having these difficult policy conversations need to happen. Our school trustees know that. That's why so many of them are endorsing my campaign. We need funding, ultimately. That's what it all comes down to.
Thank you very much. Tara.
Yeah, so just want to say there are many times growing up that I did not, my family didn't have health insurance, but on the County Board of Ed, we've really championed groundbreaking comprehensive initiatives to address mental health at school sites. We've launched 20 health and wellness centers across school sites. They have student advisory groups where students can give their own input on what the services they need. And we found that students are 10 to 21 times more likely to use these services if they're at school sites. So I'd want to bring this model statewide through the Mental Health Student Services Act, through other connections for wellness at school sites. We also launched the first county health clinic at a county office of ed site. And so I think that every county office of ed deserves that. And to look apart from just our youth, the California's mental health system, as I mentioned before, we see a lot of unscrupulous denials. I want to continue my efforts on bills like SB 999, where we're making sure we're fighting for fair coverage. We need insurance companies to step up and cover mental health care and addiction the same way they cover physical health care. And so especially in our mental health space.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You're going to get the next question here, Tara. It's for 60 seconds. I'll read this slowly here. Is there a project or a policy area that, if elected, you would like to pursue that may not be on voters' minds, but for which you have a passion? What's that project or policy, and why should it be important to voters?
Yeah, well, appreciate this question. As a legislative director, one of the bills I got signed last year was SB 10. Which may be on voters' minds, but it's to address our youth fentanyl crisis, stemming from work we actually championed on the County Board of Ed. I like to bring that work statewide. Getting Narcan in our schools, setting up overdose prevention protocols, looking at direct crisis response and school safety. Our youth fentanyl crisis is responsible for 1 in 5 youth deaths here in the Bay Area. And so one of the first bills I'd want to introduce in January is a fentanyl distribution labeling requirement to require clear hazardous substance labels for fentanyl shipments, especially if we're looking at the medical space. We know that can trickle down into our youth, So the supply chain needs a lot more added transparency because we see dangerous counterfeit pills getting through illegal channels. And so I'd want to make sure that we do everything we can to support our kids. They're just one click away from a deadly substance.
Thank you very much. Patrick.
Thank you. I'm increasingly concerned about the access that our children are experiencing to technology, the internet, and sort of the deregulation of a lot of our tech companies. We need to be more forceful on these efforts. There's been certainly efforts. I know there's been a sweeping AI bill that has occurred that got the governor's veto. This past legislative cycle, there's over 51 bills that talked about AI. So it is a hot topic issue, but it's not necessarily on the most pressing needs of the voters' minds. But it is an existential crisis. Our students are getting access to this. Our young people are getting access to all types of deep fake videos, access to whatever they can look up online. And AI is, if we do not regulate this enough, if we do not study this enough and work in partnership with the legislature, that it's going to get away from us and going to have detrimental effects on our youth.
Thank you very much. Patrick, we're going to stick with you. This next question is for 60 seconds and relates to the state budget. In California, when revenues exceed what is known as the GAN limit, the excess must be returned to taxpayers or spent on specific areas like education. Some suggest the GAN limit exacerbates the dramatic swings in the state between surplus and deficit. For example, over the last 2 years, 2-year period, California swung from $100 billion surplus to a $40 billion deficit. Excuse me. Do you support increasing the GAN limit? And if so, why? And if not, why not?
I think absolutely everything should be on the table in our sort of toolkit to address these swings. I think the voters are tired of it. The legislature is tired of it, but people don't necessarily go to the legislature and say, I'm going to fix the GAN limit. A lot of people don't even know what that is. Speaking of, what's not on the voters' minds necessarily, that's important that we address. A few years ago, we had $100 billion surplus, and now we're looking at, depending on who you talk to, a $40 billion to $70 billion deficit day in and day out. The infinite wisdom of our former governor, Jerry Brown, to secure some of these rainy day funds and be the adult in the room and tell both Democrats and Republicans that we need to be saving for a rainy day is very fiscally prudent, and I'm proud to have supported that. And we need to be looking at potentially raising the GAN limit to save for a rainy day to help bolster those reserves, because we just can't trust the volatile market of how California gets its funds.
Thank you very much. Tara.
Yes, so I do. This was instated, I believe, in 1979, and originally meant to control our spending, but it's been restricting us in terms of urgent needs like climate, education, housing, infrastructure, investments where we know we get a return on our investment. And so we need to be thinking in the long term. And so in terms of our budget deficit, this is only a stark reminder of how unpredictable our state finances can be. Like we see in our own lives, it's vulnerable to economic swings right now, largely driven by personal income tax, which is our largest revenue source at the state. So whether it be capital gains or IPOs, that's driven a lot of the volatility. So I supported, the state looked at a 2-year budget and planning over 2 years to allow a more gradual recovery. I believe that was the first time we've done that. And so I would especially want to make sure that we're doing a better job of long-term planning and fiscal discipline. I'm really proud to manage a budget of $300 million. That's balanced, and we've actually not gone to the taxpayer for a bond or a parcel tax.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tara, the next question is to you. It's for 60 seconds. Has to do with the ballot measure. The November ballot includes Prop 36. A yes vote on Prop 36 means that people convicted of certain drug or theft crimes could receive increased punishment, such as longer prison sentences. In certain cases, people who possess illegal drugs would be required to complete treatment or serve up to 3 years in prison. Do you support or oppose Prop 36, and why or why not?
Yes, so I am in line with actually the League of Women Voters themselves on Prop 36 and want to thank you for that work. Nothing is more important to me than our community safety. And just recently, the legislature passed a series of new laws to crack down on property and retail theft, impose stricter penalties on repeat offenders, give law enforcement additional tools for felony prosecutions, making sure they can combine an aggregate towards the felony threshold, targeting smash and grabs, organized crimes with enhanced penalties. And so these are all things I support. I want to be a lot tougher on crime. But I think now we need to focus on enforcing these laws rather than another ballot measure. We're here because of a poorly crafted ballot measure that had unintended consequences, and any unintended consequences with this, we'd have to come to the ballot again. But I do think I'm in the minority. I think it'll pass, but it also risks diverting funds from critical services that are keeping us safe, like mental health treatment, substance abuse, rehab, programs that are already making our community safer. So
thank you very much. Thank you. Patrick.
The job that you all are electing us to do is to go to Sacramento and work on these issues. That is the job that I'm intending on doing. I'm very wary when we use the direct democracy ballot initiative process, because it ties the hands. Even if you're against Prop 36 or you're for Prop 36, it has been brought out because of Prop 47, which tied the hands of the legislature. We cannot be continuing to govern by tying the hands of the legislature continually. So I'm in favor of working with the governor, working with the vast majority of the legislature, and actually legislating these solutions that will actually help people like my family, people like my sister who's been in and out of a methadone clinic, people like my mother who's been in and out of prison and jail, and my father. These are the issues that we need to be tackling and working on. And going directly to the ballot box is not necessarily the best solution.
Thank you. We're going to hit one more proposition, Prop 5. Patrick, this is going to go to you. It's for 60 seconds. Prop 5 would reduce the voting margin necessary to approve local bonds and taxes for affordable housing, parks, and other public infrastructure from 2/3 to 55%. Do you support Prop 5? If yes, why? If no, why not?
Absolutely. I understand the value of passing school bonds to pay for our decrepit infrastructure. We can sit here and debate, school funding, but the reality is that no one can dispute the fact that our public schools used to be a shining example for this country. And over the years, they've just eroded, especially our infrastructure funding. We need to pass Prop 5 in order to give our public schools a fighting chance. This is why I've talked to so many teachers and students. That's why CTA, California Teachers Association, is proud to endorse me in this campaign. Why I led the largest school bond in the history of the county that we're using to not only upgrade our classrooms but build affordable housing. This is the work that needs to be done. We need to support our children.
Thank you. Tara.
Yes, so I support it as well, to make it easier to approve tax increases that's blocking essential funding, whether it be for education, healthcare, public safety. I'm a strong supporter. Some of the authors of this have endorsed me as well, including our Assembly Majority Leader, but it's a very easy answer.
Thank you. Well, I just want to congratulate you. This may be the first forum where you guys have gone quick and we may be under time on the budget. So that is wonderful because we're down to our last question. And Tara, that last question goes to you. It's for 90 seconds. And what question do you wish we had asked you during this forum? And what is your response?
Thank you. Well, you've been a great moderator, so there really isn't one question, but I would ask myself, what's the first bill I'd like to introduce as the next state assemblywoman? So my answer would be Californians deserve electric bill relief, not more excuses. For PG&E especially, we need to take action, not take their money. Since 2020, average bills have surged by 77%. Creating an affordability crisis, putting families in a financial bind. So I would want to introduce a bill as my first bill that tackles this head on. And my resolve has only been strengthened during this campaign by reducing the runaway costs utilities pass to ratepayers, requiring they justify every rate hike. Instead of taking more money from Californians, it's time for utilities to take responsibility by covering some of their own wildfire safety costs and directing unspent public funds back to customers, whether it be through monthly bill credits, low-income assistance. So it's not just about affordability, it's about fairness. We need to bring utility costs down and pass those savings to ratepayers that have shouldered the burden for way too long. So I'm really proud to be in this fight against a lot of these special interests that are making our life worse and less affordable. And I'm honored to have the support that I do. And I want to give a thank you to my campaign manager, Diana Torres, and my family as well, because I see some of them watching this right now. And with that, thank you to the League. And I'm so proud to be a League member.
Thank you. Patrick.
Well, thank you so much, Tracy, and the League of Women Voters. This has been almost a year since this campaign has started. I wish, one of the questions I wish you would have asked is, what are you going to do within the first 30 days? I think there's a lot of rhetoric that you hear, a lot of misinformation that you hear on this campaign, a lot of negative mudslinging that you hear on this campaign from other sources. But at the end of the day, I think voters want to hear action. What are you going to do for them? How are you actually going to help them? Within the first 30 days, I'm going to convene every level of government. I'm going to address all of these top issues that we discussed tonight in a way that's collaborative, that's not negative, that's not full of insults or misinformation. It's the truth. That's why every mayor has endorsed my campaign, why I'm the Democratic Party nominee with Kamala Harris on this ballot. And why I'm endorsed by the Mercury News, by over 75 small businesses, the Chamber of Commerce, and the California Labor Federation. They know that I'm going to convene all of them within the first 30 days and listen directly to the constituents about the type of Silicon Valley assembly member that they need. I've fought most of my life through poverty, and I'm going to be a fighter for you all in Sacramento. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that is the end of our forum. We are ahead of time. Rarely happens. I want to thank the candidates sincerely. I want to thank you so much for caring about our community and for running for office. It's so important. And I also want to thank our community members for attending today. And as the slide says, a recording will be available in a few days. And this is the end of the forum, and our event is concluded.